anyone from Maine feels such a connection to Maine, especially having, lived outside of Maine and traveled outside of Maine for so long now. Whenever I come across a Mainer, it just feels like this like immediate bond of like, oh my gosh, like the state of Maine. And, you grow up and I almost feel like you grow up like having this like shared intimate love for the outdoors and the ocean and the mountains. And
For sure. I have a couple of questions along that same vein, if you don't mind.
yeah.
So one is, do you still have family here in Sanford?
Oh yes, yeah. No, my parents they live in the same house I was born and grew up in. So
Cool.
yeah,
Very
my
cool.
parents are in Maine and lots of my close family and friends are in Maine. My fiance's sister and brother-in-law, nephew and niece live in Maine. So actually both my fiance and I have like very intimate connections to Maine with direct relatives and some distant relatives in Maine.
Is your fiance from Maine?
He's from Massachusetts, but
Okay.
his sister moved up there. And then actually his sister and my aunt and my uncle live in the same town in Maine, in York. So
No kidding. Oh my
yeah,
gosh, that's too
yeah,
funny. Um,
yeah.
when let me ask you this. When was the last time you were in Maine?
The holiday. Oh no, that's not true. We both went back for Christmas and New Year's of 2019, and then I also got back right at the end of January of 2020. And that's the last time I've been to Maine, right before the pandemic. So, and I actually had not seen either of my brothers for a year and a half since that January of 2020. And they're with me at the trial. So it's the first time I've seen either of my brothers in a year and a half. So I'm like, it was so special having my entire immediate family came to Eugene and got to be a part of the moment. So it's been like the first time we've been reunited since the pandemic, and at some point we're all going back to Maine this year to just be together. So I'm like, can't
What a
wait.
way to be reunited. That's a really, that's fantastic. I'm so happy to hear that.
Thank you.
All right, when you are in Maine, what's
Yes.
you were because you were talking about your love for the outdoor, like the shared love for the outdoors. What's your favorite thing to do when you're in the state?
Oh my goodness. So I grew up lifeguarding at Wells Beach. So I think I spent 5 summers being an ocean lifeguard, and especially living in Arizona, which is a landlocked state. My like first thing I do is just go to the ocean, especially Wells, Maine, and York, Maine. It's that connection to that specific strip of coast is really special to me. So ocean and some lake time and river time, and then going to hike Mount Major or some of the presidentials, which are more New Hampshire but close enough.
That's so cool. Quick side note: I'm from Massachusetts too, and my parents would bring me to Algonquin Beach like every weekend as a kid. My dad and I would go surfing there. So I'm
Yeah,
like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're talking about Wells in New York. This is
like
great.
neighbors, like
Yes, 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 yes.
does it, it's a huge moment of pride for the country, from the places they're from and the people that they represent. And it'd be a huge honor to stand on top of that podium. So I'm definitely dreaming of that.
Can imagine 1.344 million people up in this state would be going pretty bonkers for you. Um, I wanted to kind of shift gears a little bit, if you don't mind,
Yeah.
and wanted to learn a little bit more about your background. So
Yep.
when did you start running? Who was kind of your first coach that kind of inspired you to say, hey, this is something that I should do? How'd you get into it? Why track?
Yes. That's easy. So I'm the youngest of four in my family, and from as long as I can remember, I was that annoying little sibling that just wanted to do everything that Brian, Kathy, and Kevin did, my three older siblings. And they happened to do track in junior high and high school. So I just was dragged to all their all their track meets and wanted to participate and couldn't wait to be just like them. And so yeah, so I got into the sport because of my siblings. And Kathy, my sister, was my very first track coach. So I don't exactly remember how old we were, but Sanford had a summer rec program for elementary school kids, and Kathy was the coach, and we got to compete at track meets, and she made it so fun. Like all the practices were mainly based around these like fun running games of like capture the flag and mother may I and all these things. So immediately fell in love with the sport because it was just so fun. And then I loved getting to watch my older siblings actually compete and participate. And I just kind of followed in their footsteps. And the more I was in it, the more I loved it. So yeah, she's definitely been my biggest role model and life mentor. And I think she would probably agree that ever since I was little, I just was that annoying little sister who wanted to do everything she was doing. And yeah, she's the best. She gave me my first pair of racing shoes back when I was in I think that was 7th grade. So she's been a huge inspiration and just the best support sister I could ever have dreamed of.